Man,
Yeah.
I think I made a really big pre-show mistake.
What'd you do?
I went to the gym.
No, seriously, what'd you do?
I can barely reach the keyboard with my arm. Like it's... I had to lift the microphone into place and I had to use both hands and sort of, swing it between me as like an ape, walking across to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure it's a good idea to do that level of strenuous exercise before we record.
From anyone else, this would be a humble brag, but I've seen your athletic ability. Can I just say, we're going to do our Sofa Shop segment at the end today, and it is worth hanging around for. This is because this is not only the greatest moment in Sofa Shop history, this is the greatest moment in podcasting history.
Incredible.
Worth hanging around for, all right?
Incredible, yes.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I mean...
I don't think I've built it up enough.
Let's get the other stuff out of the way first.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm willing not to do an idea just to get there quicker. Are you?
I'm willing to have you not do an idea as well.
Thousands of voices went, hooray, it's one of those.
All right. But shall we start the show with a podcast idea from me, though?
All right, come on.
There is literally a jackhammer in the yard next to me, so I'm going to plow on because there's nothing I can do about that. I'm sorry if people can hear it. That's what happens when you deal with unprofessional podcasters like us.
Well, let me tell you, there is literally a drama group in the hall next to me, which which is equally as loud as a jackhammer, I promise you that.
Tim went in there and said, hey, guys, why don't you make it mime night?
Yeah, that's right. They're as enthusiastic as a jackhammer. That's for sure, bouncing around.
All right. I thought you were going to say they have the acting ability of a jackhammer, but...
No. I glanced in and I know one of the guys and he's fantastic.
All right.
But, yeah.
Good
Anyway.
stuff. Here's my idea for a podcast, Tim. It's called Things I Do Weirdly, where people come on the show and talk about everyday activities, not weird things they do, but normal things they do, but they do in a weird way. And quite often you don't know you do things weirdly until, well, you get married or you have a partner. That's certainly when I found out all the things I supposedly do weirdly. And there are many of them.
Yes.
So to give you a flavour for this show, I thought I would share with you a list of things that I do weirdly. And I did ask Tim if he could do a bit of research to find out the things that he does weirdly as well.
Yes.
And I think he's had some success there.
Yes. The film The Dam Busters comes to mind.
You opened the floodgates, did you, when you asked for tips on that one?
Oh, yeah. Tapped a rich vein there.
Do you want to start with mine, or do you want to alternate? How should we talk about some of the things?
Let's definitely start with yours, and I'll see if I can tick off a few of mine on the list.
All right.
And save me some shame.
I've got 4. Trust me, when I asked for suggestions from my other half, I was given more than 4, and it quickly transitioned from things I do weirdly to just things that I do that annoy my wife. And that turns out that's an even longer list. But I want to stick with just things I do weirdly. Here are my 4. The first one is tying my shoelaces. Apparently, I tie my shoelaces, and I agree with this, I have noticed this myself, in a way that is quite unique and different to anyone else I've ever seen. And I don't know why this is. I know if when I was being taught, I kind of, skipped a couple of steps or misinterpreted a few steps and somehow improvised a new way of tying shoelaces. That seems to be what I did. So the way I tie my shoelaces is apparently quite weird. It works. My shoes stay tied.
Right.
And it looks kind of normal once they're done, I think, unless you looked closely. But if you watch me tie my shoelaces, apparently it's quite a weird technique.
Are you going to describe the technique? I can't remember how you tie your shoelaces, which is ordinarily a perfectly normal thing for one human to say to another, but I'm actually surprised I haven't noticed how.
I don't want to draw too much attention to it, and I won't be posting a video of myself doing it if that's what people want, because I don't want to be ridiculed. Apparently it's just some weird technique that I've improvised. It's just the way I learned as a kid, and then I was like, oh, that's how you tie shoelaces, and apparently I got it wrong.
What do you like? stand back and put them on the ground and lay the laces out to full length and then walk around?
I just,
and rock
I
in
do
them,
like
or-
an over under and all the loop this and put that around that and the way I think it should be done. Apparently, that's just not the way it should be done. It works fine.
Do you have a little song that you sing when you do it?
Yeah, never tie soggy shoelaces. No, it's just apparently it's just weird. Let me give you another one. Licking envelopes.
Right.
You know when you need to lick an envelope to seal it?
Yeah.
I kind of have a paranoia, I don't know where this has come from, of cutting my tongue when doing this, like slicing my tongue open on the piece of paper of the envelope. Like, it just seems like a dangerous thing to me to be licking the edge of a piece of paper.
Yes.
So rather than kind of licking along the edge, I do this weird thing where I just kind of dab it against my tongue all the way along the line. I just like lift it, dab, lift and dab, lift and dab, and I dab my tongue all the way along the edge of the envelope rather than one continuous lick.
Oh, but then you're leaving in bubbles, like for the letter to escape. Like there's air holes. You haven't got a continuous seal.
I think my dabs cover most of the waxy wet bit, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And
Weirdo.
next is swallowing pills, which for the longest time I couldn't do at all. But now if I need to take pills like paracetamol or medication, I do find it hard to like swallow them. That I have like a bit of a gag reflex. So what I have to do is put the pill in my mouth, then take a little bit of water into my mouth, and then I really have to throw my head back very violently to almost like throw the pill down my throat. And I can't just do it keeping my head still. Because you know how that's what they do in the movies? Like that's the movie way of taking pills. You put the pills and throw your head back. I have to do that. I can't take pills if I don't do the whole violent motion back to really throw it down before my gag reflex cuts in.
In the movies, though, this is one of those sort of action hero-y kind of thing. They never have water, do they? They just sort of
No,
throw
I
it back
definitely
and then-
couldn't do it without water.
No, yeah. I once tried without water, and that was a big mistake.
I mean, we're only one step away from my wife having to hide the pills in a piece of ham to get me to eat pills. So, yeah. And last on the list, and this is a thing that I've done since, I think, year 5 at school, is my handwriting is all capital letters. That's just my normal handwriting. If I'm writing a card or a note or a letter, like anything, even my my high school exams when I was writing essays, I write in all capital letters, which apparently makes me look like a bit of a criminal.
It is that is very peculiar. That's one of the weird things I noticed about you first. Yeah, you just write everything in little capitals.
So a capital letter, so if I was writing a proper noun, has a big capital letter followed by little capital letters after it. So my capitals have capitals.
That's right.
But,
somewhere along your life, it's like you were born with your caps lock on and you're just stuck.
I actually copied it from a guy who started school with me in year 5 who did it, and I just liked his handwriting, so I started doing it. And my cursive was always very messy, so I copied it off him and then just kept going. I still think it cost me in my year 12 English exam.
Oh, really?
Because I got much below my predicted mark, and I think it's because whoever marked it didn't like my capital letter writing.
Right, okay. Yeah, well, that's, reasonably fair enough, but...
Is there anything you want to add to the list of things I do weirdly that you've noticed, or are you happy with those 4 for now?
Oh, look, I haven't made a list of yours, but the ones that come to mind as you're talking, one thing I noticed about you, this is more of a weird thing that you had. I noticed that when you, and this may have changed now that you are, married and cohabitating and stuff, but I remember when you were young, you had coat hangers that weren't normal. They had all those little knitted, they were like grandma coat hangers with little knitted coats on them.
It's because my nan used to make them.
The sort of things you buy at a little market sale for $2 and then, scones. And
They're like little padded knitted coats you would put on coat hangers.
Yeah. Like my mum has them. They are a definite, Tim's mum thing. Yeah. And they're also a Brady thing. But it's not just you had one that was an embarrassing gift or it accidentally got moved here from the laundry from someone else's room. You had a whole row of them. So there's like your cool denim jacket hanging on this sort of pink and baby blue, perhaps Alice blue, kind of thing with a little ribbon.
How long have you been sitting on this concern?
It was so weird.
You've never brought it up. I don't have them anymore, unfortunately. The other thing I remember about them was that they were very small. Like, they were very difficult to hang things on. Like, you'd have like a business shirt, and it didn't seem long enough to really support a business shirt as much as it should. But yeah, I think I had them when I was a kid, and I just kept them. Like, I just kept.
Do you think it was the right size, say, for a baby's jumpsuit? Like,
Yeah.
do you think it was? So they were just old person. They were old person and baby size, and old person decorated.
I don't think I knew you could get coat hangers without those decorative coats until I was 25. I walked into a shop and thought, what the hell are these? Naked coat hangers. I was so embarrassed.
It is nice that the shoulders of all your shirts and jackets are just that slightly less worn because they've been neatly wrestled on this nice little like tea cozy kind of support.
Little coat hanger tea cozies. I love those things.
Yeah,
You're making me miss Nan.
Nan had a lot of time on her hands. She's like, okay, I'm not knitting Brady's clothes anymore. I've moved on to covering every single one of his coat hangers.
Oh dear.
So that was weird.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that one.
It would have been even weirder if you'd taken them with you to the UK and were using them over there.
That would have been really weird. I'll be back in just a minute. Hang on, man.
Because I know the UK is a really hard place to buy like little knickknacks at markets and stuff.
You should have seen the guy in customs when he opened up a suitcase just full of them.
It's like, whoa. You didn't declare these, buddy.
All right.
Can I say, look, when you asked me about this and forewarned it, like I took the temperature of the room in the house, right? And like I said, I had to write very fast. Like, and now I've come back just now and I've opened up my notebook, and then in like kids writing are more ideas like jammed in.
They've added them when you weren't looking.
They've added them while I'm at the gym. Yeah, then it's just, and one of them literally is just, it just says, "You're deaf."
Oh, I'd get that one too, for sure. All right. What are some of the things you do weirdly, Tim?
Well, apparently, like I drink coffee, but one of the things that I like is the last coffee of the night, which is a decaf. But what I do is I take it to bed and I drink, I sort of sip it while I'm reading and whatever, and then I put it down next to my bed, and then throughout the night, as I get thirsty, I continue to sip the cold coffee until the morning, which my wife tells me is utterly disgusting. Like really weird.
Okay.
For me, it's like, a little bit of cold coffee at nighttime. I like that. So that's one.
All right.
One comment came from one daughter, which said, it'd be quicker to ask what's normal about what you do, Dad.
Right.
The next one that came up, and I'm just going to pick four of the less embarrassing ones of the list, is the way I eat ice cream.
Right.
So apparently people, they take a spoon of ice cream, just put it in their mouth, pull the spoon out and move on and like swallow a mouthful full of ice cream, which for me seems like torture. Like that's just too much. You get an ice cream headache. So what I do, I take a bit on my spoon and I kind of lick it. I sort of, put it in and out and in and out and in and out until there's less and less and less ice cream on the spoon. Yeah. And then I move to another scoop. So I kind of treat ice cream on a spoon a bit like it's in a cone.
Okay.
You sort of lick and you sort of suck and you lick and, and move things around. Yeah. I do that on the spoon.
Yeah.
And apparently that makes me a weirdo. I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it, man?
I think that's okay. I think that's all right. You might do that a bit overboard, but I think a spoon should last you a couple of like, diminishments.
Too right. That's it. That's good. I'm glad I've got your support here. I'm going to put a star next to that one. Go home and test it.
Can I put a star next to the coat hangers? All right. What else you got?
Coat hangers might catch on.
Yeah.
The way I've got here the way you move your glass. I've sort of written it as they've said it. The way you move your glasses up your face, which is instead of like, you know how when you wear glasses, they slip down your nose with, you know, sweat and just leaning forward and whatnot if they're a bit loose.
Yeah.
And instead of pushing them back up from the side or by pushing the bridge with your pointy nose, I do it without using my hands. And that is that I kind of wiggle my cheeks and my nose like a rabbit, and the glasses work their way back up onto my
Do you know that like that is a bit weird? But do you know what I'm noticing about yours, even more than mine, is that these aren't so much things you do weirdly as when you live someone for a while, just everything about them starts to annoy you just because it's them. like you could just breathe and they would say that's annoying.
That's what you're saying. My dad breathes. There we go.
I do think it's cute thinking of you doing a little rabbit face to get your glasses back up.
Yeah, I've done, and I just instinctively did it then. I do it. I just sort of go one cheek, the other cheek, the other cheek, sort of like half smiling, and they slip back into place.
It's amazing. That's an amazing skill.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's amazing. Yeah, I can also tie my shoelaces without using my hands as well. Just by wiggling my
with your cheeks.
From there, I think we sort of move down to more and more things, you know, that are weird. They say that when I'm concentrating very hard on something, like a book or even what someone's saying, I chew my pinky nail. Now, I chew my nails anyway. I've been a nail biter since I was a kid. It's a habit I actually wish I could stop. But apparently I just devour the pinkies on each side while I'm concentrating. And they can tell that I'm really enjoying a book because I'll go to town. And then a person added in, and then you'll move on to your thumbs. And then we know it's going to be a really epic session. And I'm like, oh, wow. So there's apparently a style, a way I do that, which I don't know if there is a good, like a normal way of biting your nails, but apparently I do it in a weird way. There are several here I won't go into because I'm not sure they're
just embarrassing.
They're just embarrassing. Apparently I do a big after the first sip of coffee in the morning. And I'm like, well, everyone does that, don't they? Like, that's just what...
I think that's the thing. Most of the things that you do weirdly, you say, everyone does that, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. Like apparently I go, every time I get up from the table.
I do that every time I move now. Walking up the stairs.
Oh, I am tonight, that's for sure, after my gym session.
Oh, you want to bring up that gym session again, do you?
Yeah. It was a pleasure to be able to say to the guy, look, I think I've got a podcast to record, so I just need to go after this next one. And he's sort of looking at me going, all right, that sounds genuine enough, you know, like...
Gotta make excuses to leave.
It is, yes, it is. I'm accountable. Yeah. Apparently, I also do I move my hands when we're driving along, like I'm having a conversation with someone or making a point or in an argument or something like that. So I'll be driving along and then they'll just see my hand comes off the gear stick or whatever, and then we'll just start, you know, pointing up and down, like
gesturing,
I'm, you know, gesticulating. Yeah, that sort of stuff. Okay. And they'll say, like, who are you talking to? And I'll just suddenly be pulled out of my I was just explaining to so-and-so, you know.
What were you doing? Were you like practicing a sermon or preparing an argument or something?
No. I am just explaining something to someone or outlining something or justifying something or rationalizing something or
rehearsing an argument to yourself, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good idea, man.
We would love to hear more of the weird things that people do. Please go to our subreddit for this episode or talk to us on Twitter or email us unmadefm@gmail.com. Tell us about your weird things and, you know, if we like it, we'll embarrass you on the show as well.
Yes. Be sure to leave your first and last name and a photograph and we'll...
And send us a photo of your coat hangers.
I want to know if anyone else who is under the age of like 70, but over the age of 10, who has those special, what do you call them? Are they doilies? Like, are they little knitted doilies?
I don't know. They're like kind of crocheted, knitted covers for coat hangers, but they don't go straight over the wood or plastic. There's also some puffy cushioning under them.
Yeah, right. Bit of underlay.
Clearly, we've stumbled on a possible Unmade Podcast merch idea here, but... But
they often also had a little bag of potpourri, like
or lavender
potpourri?
or something.
Yeah.
How much time did you spend going through my wardrobe?
I always wondered why you smelled of lavender.
Oh God! All right, let's move on. Let's move on, please.
Yes. All right.
Let's do some parish notices, follow-up little things we want to just talk about.
Yes.
I have to say, actually, at the moment in my office, I am surrounded by envelopes and packages and things that I'm taking to the post office this afternoon on their way out to civilians and in particular stakeholders. And I just thought I'd take this chance to remind you, you can become a stakeholder, a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/unmadefm, and I might end up sending stuff to you. It could be a Unmade Podcast spoon. It could be a sofa shop pin when you pass the $50 mark. It could be all sorts of stuff. We appreciate all our listeners, but especially the stakeholders who go the extra mile. And there are some extra stakeholder things coming up soon, so maybe this is the month to join up. What do you reckon?
I agree.
Yeah.
Have a stake in it. Yes.
Yes, that's right. And speaking of merchandise, we've created a new piece of must-have merchandise. I'm sure you've heard us talk in the past about Tim's high school swimming medal. It's come up on more than one occasion, and we think other people should have a chance to wear it. So we've actually created some T-shirts and things like that simulate the experience of wearing Tim's actual medal. We've had it photographed at high resolution and printed onto a T-shirt, so you can just walk around a shopping centre, walk around town, and look like you're wearing Tim's swimming medal.
What an honour. What an honour. Really.
Incredible.
I mean...
Incredible. You going to buy one?
I still can't believe you did that.
You sent me the picture. Can't believe you did that.
I had to go and get it back from the museum, but yes, they were willing to loan it out to me.
Please do me one favour, Tim.
Yes.
Buy the T-shirt and wear it to the gym. So the guy at the gym says, "Whoa, what's that? What's that you're wearing?" Oh, you probably just swimming. Just happened to be a swimming champion.
Just happened to be a swimming champion. That's right. Oh yes. No, snap them up, folks.
Snap them up. Strictly limited to as many as people are willing to buy.
That's right.
So last episode, I had an idea called "I've never been on a podcast," and the idea was to interview people who have never been on podcasts before, which seems to be an increasingly rare species in this day and age. And Tim, I received a message on Reddit that I'd like to share with you. It's coming from someone called Johannes. And it says, "I've never been on a podcast, hit me in the feels. Back in 2019, I published a scientific article that generated some public interest, and a professor with a weekly podcast on that general area of interest reached out to me to record a podcast news bit. We did a 40-minute interview, after which he literally never got back to me and never published my interview. It was not my initiative to seek out going onto a podcast, and I'm fine with the topic ultimately not being interesting enough for a podcast, but getting completely ghosted by a supposedly professional interviewer was super weird and kind of insulting. I feel like I'm in the limbo between not having been on a podcast and having been on a podcast. I've done my part, but it never got anywhere. I proposed the niche podcast. I've almost been on a podcast for people in my situation. I'm sure there's literally dozens of us." I did feel a bit bad for Johannes, because as someone who has worked in newspapers and TV for many, many years, I have probably done hundreds and hundreds of interviews that never ended up getting used for one reason or another. And I don't think you can talk to all of them. So I did feel like like a bit of guilt when I heard Johannes talk in this way. But anyway, good idea for that one.
That is funny, isn't it? Because for many people, a journalist saying, I would like to talk to you about something is a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Yeah.
It's like a journal. They will certainly never forget it. You know, oh, well, you know, the advertiser sent someone to talk to me about this, and then, you know, it's a big deal. Yeah. So you've crushed many, many lives, man.
Yeah. But you know what? I feel like this was a chance for me to make amends, for me to do a good thing and set the record straight.
It is.
Yeah. So yesterday afternoon, I called Johannes. And I interviewed him. And now we're going to right a wrong. And finally, Johannes is going to appear on a podcast. And not just any podcast, the Unmade Podcast.
How ironic that the last interview was truly the Unmade Podcast, and finally his podcast has been made on the Unmade Podcast.
So here now is a 10-minute interview with Johannes.
That's awesome. That's great.
Ask you first, mate, how do I pronounce your name?
It's Johannes.
Johannes.
Johannes, but I'm used to getting it butchered anyway. Like, so I used to live, I'm in the US right now, and I used to live in Washington, D.C. at age like 3 to 4. And like the other kids in kindergarten used to call me Johannes because they didn't know any better.
Oh, you shouldn't have told us that.
Don't do that. Well, no, I don't go by that name anymore. But no, but it's just Johannes.
Give us the executive summary of your research that resulted in all these articles and almost a podcast. What did you do along with a colleague of yours?
So I'm doing a PhD in computer engineering at Boston University right now, and my work revolves around wireless security and privacy in the Internet of Things. And I did some research back in 2019 on Bluetooth tracking. So we were trying to track devices, and the thing with Bluetooth is the technology is supposed to prevent tracking, and we basically found an edge case where you can still track things. That's kind of the high-level gist of it.
So as I understood it, you guys found a little loophole in the way the technology works in things like Apple Watches and stuff, where people could kind of get through the security bit and track what you were doing because of a loophole. Has that loophole been closed now?
Yes. So for example, it was Apple devices. They're supposed to randomize their identifier every like 15 minutes to prevent you from being trackable when you walk around. And we found a way to kind of jump from one identifier to the next and thereby kind of achieving tracking. In some specific cases, I don't want to kind of spread fear. Apple told us when we disclosed it that they would fix it, but they never told us that they actually did, and I actually haven't gone back to kind of check. Funnily enough, Microsoft was also, kind of relevant, and they came back to us telling us, they don't consider this a problem and they won't fix it. But it's debatable how big of a deal this is. I'm not trying to make it a big deal, but back then the university was making a big deal out of this because they're always looking for kind of interesting research that's going on, and they kind of, they happen to get a hold of that paper. And then the PR department started contacting different publications. So I talked to, I would say maybe a handful of people, all of them for written publications. And then an interview was set up for a weekly cybersecurity show, which sounded exciting. Well, we did that interview. It was a 40-minute interview. Honestly, I don't think that would have warranted anyways. I assumed they were just going to cut it up and put it as kind of a side story of the week or something. And after we've done that interview, I got a follow-up email asking for, my bio and things like that. And that was the end of it. I never heard of the person again. I obviously won't name them, but it was really annoying back then because I was fully aware that this was not the next huge thing, the next huge story, but it was kind of a curious story and other outlets had already written about it. And it was also the guy asking me for an interview. So I was like, yes, I'm going to give him that interview. Anyways, I was pretty disappointed back then. And yes, of course, what I didn't realize at the time is that kind of that interview not airing would make me kind of part of a really exclusive club of people who've been on a podcast interview but not been on a podcast. So, and also it paved the way for, the interview with you. So
even better. When you were doing the interview, did you feel like it was going well? Did you think, oh yeah, I'm saying interesting stuff and this is good and this is going to work out well? Or did you think, oh, I'm nervous and terrible and like he's never going to use this? How did you feel at the time?
So by the time I did the interview, I had already done 5 interviews with other people on the topic, and those were more and less technical outlets. In other words, I had to already talk about the stuff in more or less technical level of detail. So in other words, I was very versed in just talking about any level of technical detail of this. I felt pretty confident about what I was talking about. I don't know, I definitely thought I was talking about the thing that they thought was interesting enough for me to kind of talk about. Anyways, I don't really have a problem with the show not airing. I have the problem with the fact that the guy just literally never got back to me at all. I would have been fine if he just went back to me saying, yeah, this thing has blown up. Sorry, I need to prioritize this. It's not going to make it on the show. Absolutely fine, because I probably agree, because I'm also, I'm listening to 10 different cybersecurity podcasts, and yes, there were also, big stories going on. Anyways, that still doesn't really mean that you just don't get back to people.
Tell me this, Johannes, what are you going to do if I don't use this interview and never reply to any of your emails ever again?
Well, I mean, that would suck. No, but that would suck. I would have to reconsider being a stakeholder at that point.
Oh, no. I didn't know you were a stakeholder.
Well, yeah. Maybe you can do without me, and
No. Stakeholders are precious to us. You can have a full half hour now. I was going to ask you about the Unmade podcast. Have you been listening for a while?
I just went back on the website, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think I've actually listened from the first episode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Definitely. I would say the Unmade Podcast and No Dumb Questions are probably the 2 podcasts that I haven't missed a single episode of.
Oh, that's a glowing endorsement.
Those are the 2 podcasts that are just conversational podcasts that I just really like. Everything else is kind of news and more kind of on a specific topic. You guys are in a very exclusive kind of category for me there.
And who's your favorite Unmade host? Is it me or Tim?
I don't think I can answer that.
Let me help you with an answer. I am the one who will decide whether or not this interview goes in the show.
Yeah, it's clearly you. No. The reason why, no, in that case, it's clearly you. But in general, I don't think the Unmade Podcast would be the Unmade Podcast if either of you weren't part of it. If you had another show, and I know you have lots of other shows that I also watch, but they're not the Unmade Podcast, and everything else is Tim. It's really the 2 of you interacting together. It's what makes the show.
Thank you very much. We're especially glad that you're a stakeholder. Now, one last thing. Obviously, what we do on the Unmade Podcast is we have ideas for podcasts. Seeing I have you here, if you were going to start a podcast, what would it be about? Have you got an idea on the burner? Now you've had a taste of podcast fame, maybe it's time for you to.
Well, the main podcast that I would have qualified for was the one where you've been interviewed for a podcast but never been on a podcast, but that's a very limited kind of pool.
That's gone now too. You've lost that special status.
I'm disqualified. I should have thought about that. I don't think I have a good idea.
So you've listened to all these episodes of Unmade and you've never sat there and thought, oh, I have an idea I want to tell the guys about. This would be a good podcast idea. That
could, most probably, but I never write these things down. That's a problem.
What do you? You and Tim would get along well. Tell me, what do you like doing besides Bluetooth security? Well, have you got any hobbies? Are you a runner, or rock climber, or musician?
Photography, mostly landscape photography, and with that comes travel. So before COVID, my wife and I used to travel. Really just as much as possible, and mostly to remote areas. like Iceland, Faroe Island, Norway.
Nice.
Really kind of get to the places where nobody else is in our kind of picture frame, so to speak.
What's your favorite place you've been? Recommend somewhere to us all.
Well, generally, I would say Iceland, mostly because that's on the top of my mind, because I'm kind of planning to get vaccinated, which is a realistic goal to be vaccinated by the summer in the US. And we're actively planning an Iceland trip because we were brainstorming and we were immediately like, where do we need to go once we can? And we were immediately, both of us were like, it's Iceland.
Where have you never been that you really want to go?
Antarctica, definitely. That is kind of the long-term kind of any savings that are long-term kind of go towards that.
Well, I don't think landscape photography lends itself particularly well to a podcast, but if anyone's going to make it work, maybe it's you.
Yes. I'm really bad at getting things out the door, kind of production-wise. So my wife and I have probably taken north of 500,000 photos over the last 15 years. And we've had a photo website and we've scrapped it. And just a week ago, we started kind of setting it up again. We've never managed to kind of show our photos. So I don't think I'll be doing a podcast anytime soon because even my photos are not getting the visibility that they should get.
I'll tell you what, Johannes, will you send me like half a dozen to a dozen of your favorite photos? And while this interview's running on the YouTube version, I'll have those photos on the screen and people can look at them.
Absolutely.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right.
I can do that.
All right. All right. So anyone who's listened to this, if you go back to the YouTube version or if you look in the notes for the episode, I'll also have a link to them there. People can go and have a look at just a selection of your all-time favorite photos.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, you've been on a podcast now.
Yes, that's great. Although I'm much less exclusive now because I'm just part of the crowd now.
I know everyone's been on a podcast,
but you resolved kind of a 2-year-old trauma for me. So thank you a lot for that.
Happy to help. There we go. Johannes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
He's in the club.
Making dreams come true. Well done.
I like to think of the Unmade Podcast as the Dream Factory.
It is a dream factory.
Yeah. And
You're dreaming. Yeah.
And by the way, if you want to see more of Johannes's photos, we'll have a few in the notes and we had a few on the screen while that section was running. But he has got his act together with a website. Go to phototastic.world. Phototastic.world to see some of Johannes's photos. Thanks for joining us. He is now a podcaster.
Fantastic. Welcome to the reasonably underwhelming world of podcasting.
Yeah. Now, this feels like the perfect time to talk about today's first sponsor, which is Hover.
Hover.
Domain registrar. Because I just mentioned Johannes's website and I said phototastic.world, which is quite a good domain that he's registered. And that is proof that registering a domain name can be really useful because you have to communicate where your presence is on the web, whether it's professional or just like a recreational thing, like your photo galleries and stuff. And having a memorable name you can say is a powerful tool. So why don't you go to Hover and register a domain name that you think suits what you're doing. And you don't necessarily even have to have a website. You could just have a domain that then links to like a Flickr page or a Twitter or an Instagram or something, but it's still really, really good to have a domain you can go to, like timhine.ninja, the classic one that I know you've registered.
Which I'd be tempted to auction off at some stage, man. I'm wondering if...
Well, there you go. Maybe that's an idea for the future. If you would like to register a domain name, go to hover.com/unmade. And if you use the /unmade, you'll get 10% off your first registration with Hover. Hover is a great website. It's a great service. It's so easy to use. It's really easy to set up those diversions that I just mentioned or link it to your actual website. It's really easy to take domains you've registered elsewhere with like an inferior registrar and move them over to Hover. Go and check it all out at hover.com/unmade.
Can I say, I still really like the idea of just grabbing a domain and using it for like an event, like a birthday or a wedding or anything you're inviting people to, and just chucking the information up there and having a domain, knowing that people don't have to go looking through, some events place on social media, or where do we put that invitation, or what time does it start? Just like, hang on, they've got a website. Bang, there it is. Here's all the information. You can text it round.
Yep.
I like that idea.
That's a top idea. Top idea.
You always think about websites being for, like forever, like permanent for big institutions, but just doing them for events and grabbing something, it's totally worth it.
Totally. Also a really funny present to say to your friend, I've registered a domain for you, I've registered fluffycoathangers.com for you. Go check it out. Yeah. Thanks, Hover. Hover.com/unmade. Get that 10% off. It's time for that weekly dip into the Hine family spoon archive in that section we like to call Spoon of the Week. What do you got, Tim?
Well, I tell you what I've got. I've got this spoon, which I thought said something on it, but I've now looked closely and it says something else. And I'm thinking about, do I go with it, or do I reach into the bag and pull out another one randomly?
No,
do you
go with it?
No,
this is
go with the one.
Story. What did you think it said, and what does it say? I'm absolutely captivated now.
Because I've put several aside, and I thought it said the Royal Flying Doctor Service, right?
Yeah, but
it actually says Royal Society for the Blind, which is
somehow appropriate.
That's right. Well,
so what you're going to just snub the Royal Society for the Blind because they haven't got planes and doctors?
No. I just, okay, we'll save that for another time. No. But so fate has chosen the Royal Society for the Blind. And already, can I just, hang on. Let me describe the spoon. I always forget to do this bit.
Yeah. You also haven't sent me a picture of it, but...
do you want me to send you a picture, or do you want to see if I... Let me describe it to you and paint a mental picture, and then I'll send you a photo and we'll see how well it matches. Okay? Yeah. I'm going to adopt my spoon voice now. Okay. Well, Brady, today's spoon of the week is from the Royal Society for the Blind. It's... Up the end, the head bit is square, which is unusual, and it has a coat of arms befitting the royal title. I don't know if it's some variation of a coat of arms, but it looks very royal, the kind of thing you see on things that say royal. Yeah. And then it says Royal Society for the Blind, and it's square, and that's about it, really.
Has it also got it written like in Braille or something?
No.
Right.
It's a bit harsh, actually, really, when you think about that.
So they've made this like souvenir that's really hard to read.
Yes, but you can tell it's a spoon because it's shaped like a spoon.
Yeah.
There is some, it's not quite Braille, but there's certainly something written on the back that says Sonic Australia, and you can feel it, but you can't feel what it is. The stem is beautiful. The stem is shorter than normal, but it has an hourglass kind of shape to it. Yeah. Or I think you'd call it a reverse hourglass, actually. It's thin at the top and bottom but fat in the middle. Is that an hourglass, or that's a reverse hourglass, isn't it? And then it goes down to a scoopy bit, which is very small and plain. I don't think you'll be impressed with the size of this. You seem to like the bigger sort of bowl. So that's it. The main colour behind the Royal Society for the Blind and the coat of arms is blue.
While you're photographing it, Tim, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it like right to call it blind these days? Is like, because I lose track of what the right thing... Is it like vision impairment now, or do we say blindness? I don't know what to say.
Do you know, can I say two things? One is, I'm a bit confused by this, and this might answer the question a little bit, but in a slightly tangential way. When I was young, my exposure for this organisation was through the Carols by Candlelight event in Melbourne, because the big Carols, Christmas Eve, Carols by Candlelight, which is in this beautiful big amphitheatre called the Sydney Myer Music Bowl in Melbourne, was something that we watched every Christmas Eve. And it was a major annual charity fundraising event for the Victorian Royal Society for the Blind. So the Royal Victorian Society for the Royal Victorian Institute for the Blind, I think it was called at the time.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the line, it changed its name.
Yes.
And then in Victoria, I noticed that in South Australia, when I moved here, they have a different name for their institute as well. So it's obviously a state-based, network of organisations, and they call it something else as well. And I just wonder whether that rebranding has occurred. And I think one of them's called Vision Australia or something like that. Let's look it up.
Because when you said Royal Society for the Blind, I Googled it thinking, 30 different organisations with that name would pop up. And the one on Wikipedia was in South Australia. South Australia is the Royal Society for the Blind. And
yes.
in their name and on their website when they describe themselves, they still called the Royal Society for the Blind, but it says it's a not-for-profit organisation providing services to Australians who have severe vision impairment.
Yes. That's not far from where I live, actually, and I know exactly where that is. I can see their sign, and I've seen the RSB on their brand. It's a common sign that I see all the time, and I've thought, oh, wow, they've got a different name to the one in Melbourne.
Okay.
Let me look up Vision Australia. That rings a bell in my mind. Here we go. Vision Australia, blindness, low vision, opportunity. So they still use the word blindness.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know whether we're being really insensitive or what. I don't know what. It's an area of great ignorance for me at the moment, but it's something I will read more about as a result of this spoon. So this spoon has already, been a catalyst for education.
Indeed. It does say Vision Australia is a non-for-profit organisation and Australia's largest provider of services for people with blindness and low vision.
Australia is usually about 10 years behind when it comes to, appropriate language and things like that. So I don't know, but...
We'll trust them on this occasion.
All right.
Quite plainly, a marvellous organisation.
Yes.
And that's the spoon. That's the spoon. Oh, now, have you got the photo? Did I send the photo?
No, I still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen it.
What? There we go. Yeah.
How on earth did you think that was for the Royal Flying Doctors?
Because it had the word royal at the top. And and I was thinking about the Royal Flying Doctor Service.
I'm just picturing you at Buckingham Palace going, where are the planes? All right.
What do you think of this spoon? You like it as a spoon?
I don't like it. I don't like the typeface.
Yep.
I think it looks...
That's quite boring, isn't it? Really?
I like the logo, and I like the design of the spoon itself. I like the square top.
Yep.
But I don't like the typeface that Royal Society for the Blind is written in.
It looks like very basic Arial. And then there's the RSB above it is in some sort of 1980s bank branding.
Yeah, I don't like the design. I don't like the design, but it's still okay.
I think we're becoming real connoisseurs of these spoons now, man.
Big time. Big time.
Yeah. It's not like we're just amateurs playing around. I really feel we're deep into the spoon world.
We've done over 20 spoons now.
I know.
Well, how many hours do you have to do something before you become a world expert? Is it like 4,000 hours? Or what's that famous, what's that number of hours you do? What's that according to the book?
Oh, I don't know. Is it 10,000 hours?
10,000 hours.
Apparently how long the Beatles spent playing in Germany before they had their hit singles or something.
Yeah.
Or how long Mozart practiced.
Hours. We've surely done 10,000 hours of looking at spoons.
If you added up all the times I've used a spoon in my life, if that counts, all those bowls of ice cream, surely...
The way you eat ice cream, 4 bowls of ice cream got you up to 10,000 hours. So anyway, we also like to give away spoons each week to stakeholders, Patreon supporters, and how are we going to choose this week's winner of an Unmade Podcast spoon? Do you want to spin the wheel? We haven't spun the wheel in a while.
I'll spin the wheel. Okay,
you want to give it? You want to do the honours?
All right. Oh, man, no, I don't think I can move it. My arms are too tight.
Yeah, I forgot you've been to the gym. Let me do it.
Hang on, let me nudge it with my shoulder. Hang on. Oh, there we go.
All right, there it is, spinning. All right, and the winner is Alexander from Cambridge in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Alexander over there on the East Coast in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. I tell you, that's a name I wasn't sure how to pronounce properly until I was about 34.
Oh, yeah. Or spell. Oh, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare word.
There's about 16 or 17 S's in it.
Don't know what they're doing. Don't know what they're doing.
No.
Crazy place. By the way, we are now accepting spoon submissions. If you would like to send us a physical spoon, we may feature it on Spoon of the Week. There are also details in the show notes about how to send us a spoon. Keep them coming, people. You know, maybe you want to show off the town you're from or an organisation you're involved with and you've got access to a souvenir spoon. Send it in, please.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Patreon supporters, how about we do another great honour and tradition that we bestow upon the stakeholders and read you an idea from one. This has been sent in from one of our listeners. Are you ready?
Yes, please.
Oh, there's just a fantastic coincidence here too, I've noticed. It says, "Hi guys, this is Manja, pronounced Manja, from Germany." Do you like what I did there? Anyway. Yeah, sorry, I thought that was quite clever. Anyway. I mispronounced it and then read her clarification of the pronunciation, knowing that I had it wrong. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right. Here we go. "I work as a hacker, and before you ask, no, it's not illegal if the owner of the target system pays you. I mostly test Internet of Things devices." That's the coincidence, because Johannes also tests Internet of Things devices, and he's German. A double coincidence.
Wow.
I mostly test Internet of Things devices like watches for children to make sure that kids can't be contacted or tracked by any random creep. Manja probably knows Johannes.
That would be...
Anyway, my podcast idea. You are probably not aware that there is a huge community of people taking photos of their plush toys and writing captions from the toy's point of view, calling us humans or assistants. There already is a podcast made by people from the community about plushies as emotional support tools for people with traumatic experiences. My idea, however, is to make a plushie podcast with at least 90% less sorrow, suffering, and death. The host would pretend to be the plushies and complain about the little injustices in the world, like how plushies are not allowed to drive a car or run for office. That's Manja's idea. A podcast done from the perspective of plush toys.
You know, this is delving into an area we've not really gone to with our podcast ideas, because so many of our ideas are about, we presume non-fiction, but actually there's a whole fiction world out there.
Yeah. Well, Tommy Ball.
No,
Sorry, spoilers.
Beg your pardon. Goodness gracious.
No, but you're right. We don't often go down the fictional route.
Yeah, the sort of the sketch comedy or the fictional world. That's a really interesting idea. It's a very challenging idea.
We could put our own twist on it, and instead of doing a podcast done from the perspective of plushies, we could do a podcast from the perspective of my coat hangers.
Yes, yes. Here I am, hanging around.
Yeah.
You look like you got the weight of the world on your shoulders. Yep. It's my day with the denim jacket.
Yeah. Have you kept any plush toys from your childhood?
Yeah.
Of course you have. Hoarder.
I've got a teddy.
Yeah.
Funny coincidence as well, because I've got this teddy called Teddy, and he has a little outfit that not my grandma, but a friend's grandma when I was a little kid. You know, when you're a kid, everyone's sort of grandma are in a grandma world together, and they're all knitting for everyone else's grandkids and stuff. And so it was a friend's grandma who knitted a little outfit for my Teddy. So not only do I fondly have and remember Teddy, but also Teddy's little outfit, which is a lovely connection back to a childhood friend's grandmother.
Nice.
So,
do you think you could podcast from the perspective of Teddy? Do you think you could get in that mindset?
Wow, yeah. What could he say? I mean, years and years, in childhood bedroom to talk about. There he is learning to read and write, and there he is hiding again and being naughty, and he's, all that kind of stuff, and never plays with me anymore.
Oh, the stories that Teddy could tell. Yeah. All right.
There he is practicing the drums, failing to practice the guitar sufficiently.
Yes.
As the years go by.
The traumatic guitar solos that Teddy has experienced. Oh, dear.
Yes, that's right.
Well, thank you, Manja. That was a nice idea. And thank you for being a stakeholder.
I didn't know there were still hackers. I thought hackers was like a 90s thing, like
Oh, nah, big time, man.
People-
Big time hackers.
up late in the dark,
I sometimes do a bit of hacking late at night.
Do you?
Just seeing, checking out what's going on at the Pentagon and stuff.
Do you know what the favourite words of hackers is? I'm in. In the 90s, all those movies, someone's just there, tick, 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 and you suddenly hear this, I'm in. And they don't take their eyes off the screen. Tick, 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 tick. They're all speed typists. That's what they do. They'd make more money being speed typists.
They should be secretaries. Also, how is it that they can guess anyone's password on the third guess and I can't get my own passwords right?
I know. That's right. Yes, that's...
So, we have another sponsor today. It is, again, Storyblocks, which Tim described recently as the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory of stock material.
Yes.
So for a small monthly fee, you get unfettered access to this incredible library of stock video, pictures, and audio that you can put into your own creations, whether it's videos or podcasts or it could be a newsletter or something you do. You should check them out, people. In fact, just yesterday I was making a video about space and I needed some cool footage of the moon and the earth and some really sort of spacey sound effects that sounded like explosions and deep rumbles of spaceships. And I went full Augustus Gloop into the chocolate river of Storyblocks and helped myself to all sorts of wonderful bits and pieces that I put into my video. I was so grateful for my Storyblocks subscription. If you would like a Storyblocks subscription, go to storyblocks.com/unmade. Now, Tim.
Yes.
The way that we like to talk about Storyblocks and kind of show off and showcase the extent of this library is I make little quizzes for you. I put together bits of video from Storyblocks and challenge you.
Yes.
And I feel like it's always a bit unfair because I always choose things that are of particular interest to me, like places I've travelled or things to do with space and things like that. Mm. And because this is the Dream Factory and I like to make dreams come true on the podcast,
yes.
Today I've made a Storyblocks quiz especially for you.
Oh.
And all of today's footage, there were going to be 10 bits of video end on end for you to look at.
Yes.
Each one relates to a Bible story.
Oh, wow.
And I want you to tell me what Bible story it is.
Okay.
All right.
Is this actual footage from the Bible?
So most of them are going to be really obvious, right? Really obvious depictions of the Bible story. And I'll be pretty shocked if you don't get them.
Right.
A couple of them are a bit more abstract. I've done like a bit of a modern take. So like, for example, you might see a modern market stall seller selling bread and fish. And that would be like, the bread and loaves story.
Oh, yes.
A couple of times you're going to have to like join the dots a bit. But if you don't get at least 8 out of 10, I'm going to be really disappointed. No pressure.
Your disappointment is a mere glimpse of my disappointment.
All right.
I can tell you that.
So if you want to play along, people, if you're watching the video, it'll be on screen now. You can pause and go and watch a video, or you can just listen to Tim play now. Tim, each one lasts about 10 seconds. I expect you'll get some of them pretty quickly, which will leave you with a few spare seconds. And if you want to fill that airtime with a bit of, preaching or theology, knock yourself out. 1, 2, 3. What's going on there?
Well, this looks like creation.
Yes.
There we go.
All right. Number 2.
This looks like the temptation of Jesus, is it?
Yes. In the wilderness.
In the desert. And someone with black on. Yes.
Number
okay.
3.
Slingshot. I'm going to say this is David and Goliath.
Yes.
There's
very
really
good.
Cool slingshot there. Nice.
Yes.
Nice slingshot. Yeah, that's cool. Noah's Ark. That looks like a flood with a boat that's an ark. And so I'm going to presume Noah's on it. There we go. This is interesting. This is someone falling. Oh, so is this Peter walking, or Jesus walking on the water and Peter trying to emulate? I'm not sure about that one. This one here, Jesus is eating fish. I don't know if it's the Last Supper. It's outside, so maybe it is the Last Supper. It looks like it's outside though, which is a bit strange.
Last Supper.
Okay, wise men heading across following the star to the birth of Jesus, or men from the east, as it was called.
Yes.
This is someone looking at directions for someone on a bike from a 90s clip. Who's lost? This is, look, the temptation. This is a computer-generated serpent and Eve with an apple in the Genesis account of the creation story. Now it's Jesus walking on the water.
Yes.
I think it's Jesus or someone with quite the mullet.
All right.
I don't know what that other one that was of someone giving directions.
So there were two that you didn't get.
Right.
Number 5 was actually Jonah. That was Jonah being cast from the boat, and there was a big fish under the water.
Oh, I didn't see the fish.
Yeah, the fish was kind of murky and hard to see.
All right, yep.
And the one with the person giving directions, that was the hardest one. That was a good Samaritan helping someone out.
Oh, right. Oh, see, he didn't look like a good Samaritan. He looked like a bit of a goose in a convertible. So that was...
he wasn't. He was the person who needed help.
Oh, it was the girl on the bike helping out.
He was lost, and she was coming along giving directions.
Oh,
I actually put Good Samaritan into story blocks, and that was like the result. So I went with that.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
So,
but you did get 8 out of 10, so you can keep your job as a church minister.
There we go. That's right. And that's how they appoint us these days, by showing us vision from story blocks.
If you want to join up, storyblocks.com/unmade. Thanks to them for supporting this episode.
I feel like through these quizzes, people are becoming increasingly impressed with story blocks, which is the point. And they're decreasing in how impressed they are with me. I think that's what's going on.
Well, it's a good thing you are not the one selling stock footage then. The time has come for a very special segment.
Yes, people, if you've lasted this long, wow, boy, are you about to be rewarded.
Yep.
Okay.
Let me tell the story so far.
Yes.
It all started with the Sofa Shop jingle from Adelaide in the 80s, 90s, even the 2000s. You all know the jingle by now.
We have a sofa designed for you. Choose your fabric, match your curtains too.
And then people started sending us covers that we would feature on the show. It could be country music.
We have a sofa designed for you.
Dance music.
Sofa shop ain't gonna cost
8-bit. Even bagpipes. And then, a little while back, only a matter of weeks ago, Tim made a joke. Imagine the Sofa Shop being played on Big Ben, the bell in the clock tower at Westminster overlooking London, like to see in the new year or something like that. We thought this was very funny, but a few civilians took this to the next level, and we had versions of the Sofa Shop played on the Century Tower at the University of Florida. We had someone actually do a Big Ben sort of fake, taking the Big Ben bell and sort of retuning it to make a Sofa Shop version, just, on a computer.
Very clever.
And then we even had it played on the Harkness Tower at Yale University most recently. Now, you know what's coming. I got an email from someone who I cannot reveal for security reasons.
Hang on, man. Is it a member of the royal family?
I'm not ruling that out. I'm ruling nothing out. All right?
So you're not ruling out it's a member of the government?
I'm not ruling anything out.
All right.
And this person said, I humbly present to you probably the worst rendition of the Sofa Shop jingle ever submitted. Frankly, it's almost not worth sending at all. However, it does have one redeeming quality, in that hopefully it is the first time the Sofa Shop jingle has actually been played on the real Big Ben bell.
Unbelievable.
So what you're about to hear is the Sofa Shop jingle being played on the actual nearly 14-ton bell in the Elizabeth Tower, the clock tower at Westminster. Here it is. There you go.
Wow.
In case you don't believe that's it being played on Big Ben, I cannot show you this, but I have received an extensive dossier of proof with photos of the Unmade Podcast being played up next to the clock face. The video of the playing that you just heard, that is videoed, followed by a pan out to the side where you can see down on Westminster and across London. It's the real deal, people. It is the real deal. I have all the evidence in place. Tim has seen some of it.
Yes, yes. And we don't make things up on the Unmade Podcast. That's a distinctive. Everything is real.
Now, obviously, there is a problem playing the sofa shop on the Great Bell. The Great Bell is actually the proper name for Big Ben. Big Ben is the nickname of the bell, even. There is a problem in that it only plays one note. It's it sounds in an E natural, apparently. That is the note that Big Ben chimes in. So It does make it hard to play the nuanced masterpiece that is the sofa shop. But I've actually created something else to help. I haven't played this to you yet, Tim. Let me send it to you now. I've recreated that Big Ben playing, but I've put Carmine Scousy's original singing with it, so you can hear what it sounds like. So have a listen to this, Tim. Tell me what you think of. Here it is again, but this time with Carmen singing.
The sofa shop is your only stop for the sofa you need. The sofa shop, yeah, come and drop in on Halifax Street. We have a sofa designed for you. Choose your fabric, match your curtains too. The sofa shop ain't gonna cost what you think it will. Don't you do a thing until you see the sofa shop.
That's awesome.
There you go.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And when you hear that, you realise two things. One, that it is the sofa shop being played on the bell. And secondly, I think the unnamed person who did this was actually listening to the sofa shop at the time, because it fits perfectly.
Yes.
So there we go.
Wow.
I am authorised to tell you that the person who did this is actually a musician of sorts. They have some musical ability.
Yep.
But, what can you do when you've just got a huge bell? And apparently this person tried to play it on the bell like with their hand, but that makes no noise. You do have to tap it with something to get the noise. The thing I like about it, let's just have a little listen again. The thing I like about it is, like, obviously it's being done reasonably lightly, but you can still hear Big Ben himself, like, muffled, trying to get his voice out. Like, it's unmistakably Big Ben is there, like, trying to do it, but it's just, like, kind of muted.
The thing I love, I mean, this is obviously the high point. In 161 years of Big Ben, this is obviously the climax. But the one thing is, it only really rings, it's for the time, and then on very significant occasions. And I just imagine scores of people all over London are just out buying sofas now, really unsure of why.
Subliminal. I just feel this sudden desire to match my curtains too.
The Prime Minister's sitting in the House of Commons and leaning back going, oh, look, we really need to replace these, don't we? This is not very comfortable. I need something a bit better.
Hey, but I haven't ruled out that was the Prime Minister that did it, by the way.
Oh, indeed. No, I was just trying to give him a bit of cover there.
So, this is obviously an amazing thing. We're
sofa shop playing on Big Ben.
We're pretty happy about it. And obviously, I don't think we even have to vote on this. I think by acclamation, this person has been elevated to unmade colonel status.
Slam dunk. Straight.
Ring the bells.
Straight away. Ring the bells.
But it does create a bit of a dilemma for us because this person's identity is a secret. And I've come up with a way around it. I've been inspired by something that's quite a serious thing, and that is the CIA memorial wall, where they have that's a wall where they engrave stars.
Oh, yes.
To commemorate people who've given their lives for the country.
But they maintain their anonymity, yes.
This is the thing. Under the stars, there's like a book in a case. And at the last time I heard, there are 135 stars on the wall. 93 of them have names associated with them in the book.
Right.
But 42 of them have to remain anonymous for security reasons. And they're just represented by a star. So I think on our little wall where we commemorate unmade kernels, we will put a star as well for this absolute star civilian who made this possible. So you know your name.
Yes.
But I'm afraid no one else will. You will just be forever a star on a web page.
Oh.
And a star in our hearts.
Indeed. The brightest star in the Unmade Podcast sky.
The brightest of stars chimes only half as long. I can't believe it. Big Ben.
That's amazing. Yeah. Where do you go from here? Are there any bells on the moon? I mean, really?
I was thinking, is there a more famous bell? There's the Liberty Bell, but I'm going to argue that's not as famous as Big Ben.
No.
There's the Taco Bell. But like, there is no more famous bell.
No, there isn't.
Is there a more famous sound-making device in the world? I would argue not.
Like an instrument. There's no particular organ or piano or...
Something you could play the sofa shop on that's more famous.
No, there's no guitar that's famous. You know, things like... They're all very contextual, aren't they? Like Jimi Hendrix's guitar or something like that. They're all or a particular Stradivarius violin.
Oh, I know a good violinist. I don't think she has a Stradivarius, but I could get in touch with her for a... I mean, we have had a violin cover done, which was quite good.
Yes.
But we could upgrade to a Stradivarius. I'll see what I can do about that.
I'm a bit of a completist with my sofa shop covers. I just like to have these in there.
But like, what challenge can we lay down next that would top that?
I don't know. It's hard. It's something at the Vatican, like in St. Peter's Basilica. I wonder if there's any...
See, if you have to think about it, already it's not as famous as Big Ben.
That's right. No, that's right. I wonder, going back to your the legendary John Williams, who was bestowed another Unmade Podcast honour, which was the keys to the universe, was it? What was the...
Keys to the planet, wasn't it? Or, I don't know.
Yeah. This is the composer of Jurassic Park and of Star Wars and of Jaws. It'd be interesting to hear him play it. Getting him to play it would be, that would be a coming together of...
There is a Star Wars Sofa Shop cover already, of course. Again, already on the side.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, until we think of something bigger and better, and I'm not sure we will, the Sofa Shop has now been played on Big Ben, from Tim's imagination and joking around to absolute reality in a matter of weeks.
Hang on. Tim's vision. That's what it was. I cast a vision.
Vision.
It was a strategic vision, and
and there was a deliverable that's been delivered.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. And people rallied to the cause. They bought in. Yep. My blue skying has been actualised.
So once again, our big thanks to Boris. To the anonymous person who sent that in to us. We appreciate it very much.
Oh, what incredible! Well, man, there's no point going on. Is there?
No.
No.
What can we do now? Who are we?
What point is there?
We're just a couple of guys that have never played the Sofa Shop on Big Ben.
Oh, no. I wonder if anything has been played on Big Ben apart from the Sofa Shop and...
11 o'clock.
That's right.
Because what they do is there are 4 other bells, smaller bells, that play different notes, and they're the ones that play on the quarter hour, and then Big Ben chimes on the hour.
Can I just say, I have secret words, and they're well and truly dealt with in the natural course of the show, which I think, I literally think is a first.
Wow.
And I literally think that is a first.
Yeah.
I have another person who has requested a secret word, and so I need to try and fit that in somewhere.
Okay.
But it's going to be very hard to smuggle this particular woof into the
Yeah, I don't know.
into the episode.
That would have been weird if you just did that mid-show.